welcome to DudeCastTV, where once again, as always, I'm your host, Norman Dexter. Welcome back. It's been a minute. It is May 29th, and I believe my last podcast episode was in March, maybe February. So it's been a few months. So what's been going on? Not too much, actually. But here I am. I'm back. Got my drink, and I'm here to scream into the void once more. Thank you for tuning in. What am I talking about today? Well, I have a few motivations for today, but mostly I'm just going to be talking out my ass. Uh, the last couple I've done were kind of oriented around a single subject. I talked about sex, I talked about depression, all that shit. And so here's the thing, and I've said this before, but I'll say it again, and I'll continue to say this. This podcast is something I do because it's enjoyable for me. It's fun. Oftentimes, I've used it as a journalistic tool. Not to be confused with journalism. I am fucking not that. Uh, it's used sort of like a diary for me in a way. It's a way for me to get my thoughts out. The thing is, things have been going relatively well, and so there hasn't been much turmoil in my life. Something pretty terrible did happen at some point, late March, early April. But it's as bad as it was, it's not worth commenting on because it came to an end very abruptly, and it came to an end because of stuff I've already talked about. What I'm referring to is one of the relationships I was in came to an end, and it was basically because she broke rule number one: communicate your needs, use your words. She didn't do that, and so something built up, came out wrong, and then was miscommunicated over a couple of weeks until eventually the actual raw truth came out. And it was something that really caught me off guard in a way that was so unbelievable that didn't feel real. But I knew that it had to come to an end, made the decision, moved on, done. And worked through that, processed it surprisingly well. Pretty proud of myself for it. But it's not interesting for you guys to hear about. And what makes this different than a journal. This is not something that I'm always going to share every aspect of my life with. My close friends and family know what has been going on, and that's all that really matters. Again, I can do whatever the fuck I want on here. I can scream at the top of my lungs, shit, piss, cum, and cock, and it doesn't matter. And that's kind of the idea. And so because of that, one of the reasons I haven't been posting isn't because I've been the big sad or anxiety ridden, or I just didn't have anything to fucking talk about. I mean, things calmed down in current events, particularly because the pandemic's coming to an end. If you're watching this in the future, it's May 29th, 2021. We just got done with a global pandemic. And I'm not going to say the name of said pandemic because I don't want to get kicked off of YouTube, even though I have like 50 people watching this, but whatever. Uh, and, things are going well. I'm happy. And I just didn't have anything to talk about. So why did I all of a sudden want to make a podcast? Well, recently I watched one of the movies I watched all the time as a kid with my father called The Pianist. Pianoist, if you need me to slow that down. But The Pianist is a story of a Holocaust survivor. I can't remember his first name. Like Valden, I think is how it was spelled. Valden Spielman. He's a real person, autobiography. He wrote about his experiences in Nazi occupied Poland, in Warsaw, Poland. And what made this story so interesting is that a lot of the accounts from survivors of the Holocaust, he was a Jewish man, a lot of the survivors talk about their life and surviving in concentration camps. Well, spoiler alert, kind of. Valden never made it to a concentration camp. He survived throughout, I want to say, 6, 7 years. A portion of it with his family, a portion of it completely by himself. Uh, hiding, basically. Well, the thing is, it's kind of hard to hide in the cities of Europe uh, if you don't have a place to stay, particularly because the Nazis were rounding up everyone. And so he tried to follow the rules and he got into certain servicing groups that got special treatment because he was recruited by the Jewish police, yada, yada, yada. All these things happen, right? And it's just a harrowing story. It's a very humbling story because you see everything get taken from this man and you see everything get taken from a people. Whether you were Jewish or not, everyone was being oppressed, but if you were Jewish, you were particularly in danger. There's a scene in the movie where they line up all the Jews and they tell them, they being the Nazis, tell them that they're being taken somewhere. And then a woman simply asks one of the Germans, "Where are you taking us?" And the German pulls out a gun, shoots her in the head, and walks away. And that is the story of Nazi occupation in the 40s over in Europe. And you get to see pure evil in this movie, of course. That's how you always see it depicted when you look at any depiction of what the Nazi regime was like. But what makes this one so very different is that you get to see incredible and intense compassion as well, because the people that help hide Walden, or Spielman as I'll call him, because I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, the people who help hide him, they feed him and they risk their lives to keep him safe and keep him alive. And it's a really humbling story. You watch this man slowly starve to death throughout this whole process as he loses more weight, grows his hair out, gets just more and more just inching toward death. And he finds a way to survive. And it's an older movie, late 80s, early 90s, and I never watched it from beginning to end because when I watched it with my dad when I was younger, it was always, I mean, it's a 2.5 hour long movie, and when it showed up on cable, you were lucky if you saw it at the beginning and stayed throughout the entire thing because it would often run for 4-ish hours with commercials, right? So I watched it from beginning to end, and it's a really great movie. And I like watching humbling movies like that because it makes me thankful for everything I have in my life. And I've talked about gratitude before on the podcast, how important it is and how meaningful it is to me and how strong of an emotion it can be in your life and a tool it can be in your life. And it's just, I mean, I'm a bodybuilder. I literally force feed myself every day to eat into a surplus so that I can grow and then put my body under stress to use that surplus. When this man was just trying to get, crumbs of bread, grains that weren't even cooked, um, potatoes, just anything he could find just to eat. Some old canned pickles. Like the man was withering away to nothing in a city that had been almost entirely demolished, going from one destroyed home to another, just looking, scrounging for food. And the thing is that this is something that actually happened. This is not some zombie apocalypse. This is not some fantasy. This is something that really happened. And I look at my life now. I look at the lack of adversity in my life because I've gotten to a place of relative stability. And I'm very thankful for that. And movies like this, they remind me of how lucky I am and how, the hard work I've put in to build a foundation that gives me that stability affords me this luxury. And I know that that makes me very lucky because some people, no matter how hard they work, they may never achieve that. And so again, luck, it's a conversation of when work ethic and opportunity meet. That's luck, in my opinion. And so it's that's what motivated me to come back, as I wanted to talk about that a little bit. But again, there's not much to talk about. I mean, it was a tragic story where millions died, and those who survived went through probably the most harrowing experience, one of the most harrowing experiences in human history. That's a big deal. But I'm not going to rant about that for 40 minutes. It just made me think, it made me ask the question, what's next? Right? So, let's say I'm in a happy relationship, committed, everything's good, everything's fulfilled. Let's say I've made all the money that I'll ever need. I don't have to worry about an income stream anymore. I'm good, financially independent, financially stable. I've moved into my dream home. I've built a gym and a structure in my backyard so I can work from home. I can start a family, not start a family, whatever. Just depends on whoever my partner is when I decide that, when we decide that, rather. Because I think I've mentioned this before too. I'm a firm believer that it is your partner who will inspire you to start a family, not I just need to start a family because this is what I need in life innately. I think it's a partner that inspires that in you, pulls that out of you. Now, there's always exceptions. I know somebody who was very willing to get artificially inseminated from a donor and just raise a child on her own. That's not me. I support whoever wants to do that, but that's not me. Uh, Whoever I would have a child with or children with, I want to I want them to be a part of my life forever because for me it is extremely important that I raise children with the mother. Uh, I'm not saying white picket fence, trust me, fuck that shit, but I want the mother of my children to be in my life because I want both of us to be in the children's lives. To me, that is very important. So, say I have all of that. I guess you could say raising the kids would be the next thing, right? But what what do I do with my free time? Yeah, I have my workouts, I have my meal preps, I have my bodybuilding goals. But the more I think about that, the more I realize that getting a pro card, becoming a professional bodybuilder, it's kind of empty. Who cares? Yeah, I might get like an Instagram following. Yeah, I might get this pro card and do well, and maybe I'll even get to go to the Olympia one day. That'd be cool, right? But then what? That's just the next 10, 15 years of my life. And I'll be in my mid early to mid 40s. I still have more than half my life left. What's next, right? And so I got to thinking about it, and it's one of the very strange things that we run into in the society that I live in the United States, in the middle class. Uh, Particularly because most of my peers are working paycheck to paycheck. Most of my peers and the people in the same socioeconomic status or class as I am, or even higher in some cases, they work paycheck to paycheck so that they can pay their bills and get from week to week, month to month, year to year. You know, make sure food's on the table, the kids are provided for, the kids' school is paid for, whatever, right? Paying off student loans, paying off medical bills, staying healthy, etc. Well, I'm young. I'm 28. I'll be 29 this year. I'm healthy. I don't have any debt. I don't have medical bills. I don't have any problems. The only issues that I have are ones that I create for myself, i.e., pushing myself in the gym, forcing myself to eat a particular way, creating content like this podcast. It is a sense of adversity, but what gives it an extra flair is that it has some creativity to it, which is why I'll always bodybuild no matter what. I'll go until I physically can't anymore, which Jack LaLanne did it till the day he died, so I guess currently the goal is till I'm 96, because that's how old he was when he passed. But it's just, I know this is a very nihilistic viewpoint, and that's not what I'm trying to get to. What I'm trying to get to is we need something to work toward to feel fulfilled, to feel happy. And once we reach these goals that are these huge milestones and we don't think past them, we feel kind of lost. It's kind of like when professional athletes retire and they feel lost and they get depressed, right? So, what am I going to do? Well, something I do enjoy is my work. I like training people, that one on one conversation, working with people. It's a constant stimulus. I love conversation, I love talking with people, excuse me, particularly in a one on one environment. So, something I'm going to be adding to the podcast is guests. I have no fucking idea how I'm going to record it yet. Still figuring that out, but hopefully soon I will have a guest appearance on. Tried recording one over Zoom. It did not work. The entire thing had to be scrapped because my stupid ass was recorded, but he wasn't. So I'm going to try more in person. I do have a friend who's going to be coming in. Her name is Erin, and she will join me hopefully in the first segment of this series on the podcast that I will call Dude Talk. Because fuck you, dude is a unisex term. Fuck you, fight me. Uh, so, Aaron and I are just going to be sitting on the couch, duding it up. And I don't know what we're going to talk about. We're just going to kind of shoot the shit. And that sounds like fun to me. I want it to be a recurring segment. It's not always going to be her, but I know that she's somebody who wants to do something like this also, and she would like to do a recurring thing week by week also. And so I'd like to do that. I'd have to have other guests and so on. It's something fun to do. It's something fulfilling to do. And we focus so much on these grandiose achievements. Uh, Losing 20 pounds, graduating college, getting that promotion, buying that house, having a kid, raising the kid, whatever, all these things, right? But I feel like we don't pay attention to the little things as much. And I think that that's a detriment because those little things can add up to something really important. And as ridiculous and drawn out as these parallels are, I'm going to make it. Joe Rogan is a beautiful example of this. And I'll explain how. Joe has obviously risen to the height of media. He has become the only person to ever independently become so successful in a field to the point where corporations have no sway over him. There is no company that he answers to. If Spotify decides, hey man, fuck you, see you, bye, he can just go right back to YouTube and all these other platforms and podcast platforms that he was working with before, making plenty of money, happier than a pig in shit. Uh, so he doesn't answer to Spotify. He just does whatever the fuck he wants. In the same vein, Dana White with the UFC has been interviewed. Hey, what do you think about Joe Rogan's view on this, that, and the other? And he goes, I don't give a fuck. He can say whatever the hell he wants. He's a good commentator. That's all I care about. Good dude, good commentator. I'm keeping him. So he's staying in the UFC as a commentator. And the dude sells out arenas with Dave Chappelle routinely to tens of thousands of people as a professional stand-up comedian. And here's the thing. Here's the key, okay? Those sound like big milestone, big goals, right? If you know anything about Joe and his work history, he just kind of did shit, okay? He fell into the role at Fear Factor and he thought it was bullshit. He thought this is fucking stupid. This is going to get canceled tomorrow. And then it went for however many seasons it did. And he made gobs of money doing that, which gave him the stability to focus on comedy and everything else and things like his podcast. And so he just kind of fell into these things. But he does acknowledge that that's luck. But he also worked hard. But here's the thing. Here's my point. He didn't have this goal of being the number one podcaster in the world. He didn't have this goal of being a UFC commentator. He didn't have this goal of being, the best stand-up comedian in the world. He just wanted to be a better stand-up comedian. He just wanted to be a better commentator. He just wanted to be a better podcaster. He liked commentating, he liked doing stand-up comedy, and he liked podcasting. And so he stayed with them. That's it. That's all he did. He just stayed with them, and he just became successful in them because he just showed up. And that's really important. The consistency of that is really fucking important. Because we don't live in Nazi-occupied Poland, where you have to be on your toes constantly, where you are constantly extrinsically motivated to act because adversity surrounds you. Now, I'm speaking for myself. If you live in a poverty-stricken area with high crime, with gang violence, if you're a young woman and you're in a sketchy part of town where you have to worry about being assaulted on any corner, if you have to worry about this or that, obviously you're in a different situation than me, and I am not taking away from that. But what I am saying is that for a large number of people, particularly the people that I know are probably listening to this, I know that life is not particularly terrible because you live in the United States. If you live outside the United States, hello, didn't know that this fucking podcast reached internationally. But if you live in the United States, this is probably relatable for you. You have your own car, you have a smartphone, you have a place to live, you have an abundance of food. This isn't true for a lot of the rest of the world, and for the majority of human history, it has not been true. We're in a very strange place, and this is why I think anxiety and depression and even suicide rates are so high, because people are not finding purpose in what they do anymore. And again, you can get very nihilistic and say, well, what's the point? We're all stardust in the end anyway, right? Yeah, true, but if this is the only life you live, hashtag YOLO. Which, by the way, why the fuck is YOLO about getting shit faced? I know this is a tangent, but since when is hashtag YOLO about getting crunk with your bros? That never made sense to me. YOLO, you only live once. Shouldn't you want to prolong your life and do good in it, not get riggedy riggedy wrecked, be hungover, and completely be fucked for the next day? I don't know. It never made sense to me. But I don't want I don't want this to come off as you need to be productive either, because I don't want to push this fucking hustle culture that all these gurus and guys like Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V, have pressed, because even Gary has, uh, taken a step back and said, "Hey, I regret pushing this hustle culture because people are working themselves to death." It's not what he's trying to say. He was trying to say find something you love and then, lean into it. And I agree with that, but you don't want to be working 20 hours a day, killing yourself just for a fucking $1 million, $1 billion, whatever. It's not worth it. So I remember I was listening to a podcast earlier with Neil deGrasse Tyson on it, and he said that a lot of science, a lot of inspiration, and a lot of creativity comes from doing nothing. And what does that mean? It means you're not being productive. And this sounds counterintuitive to everything I was just saying, but I want to drive this point home because it's been a hard thing for me to accept in my life. See, I was so driven to always be productive, and if I wasn't, I was guilty of I just felt guilty and sick that I should be doing something. I can't relax. I don't have time to relax. I should be making money. I should be studying. I should be exercising. I should be meal prepping. I should be sleeping. I should be doing something to fulfill my goal set, right? And that can be very damaging because that can fuck up your relationships, that can fuck up your passions. It can give you burnout. It can really fuck you up. It took me a year and a half after I took my last course in my master's degree. It took me a year and a half to be okay with coming home from work and not studying. Now, did I have something to say? No, I was done. I had no more coursework, but I felt like I should have been doing something because for the majority of my life, for about 24, 25 years of my 28, 29 years on this planet, I was in school. I was studying and doing homework damn near every night of the year. And that shit can be traumatic. Gotta get the A, gotta get the A, can't get a B, that's failing, gotta get an A, got it an A. Again, that's me. Some people, they get a C or a B, they're happy with it. Tons of friends in college, hey man, C's get degrees, right? Yeah, I know. But for whatever reason, I held myself to this higher standard, and Jesus, fuck, was that hard to break. And so now, I feel good. I can relax and do nothing and feel okay about it. I'm working on a fitness app right now. I've been working on it for a couple of years, and the guy I'm working on it with, he just had his second child, and he's got a lot going on. And I was talking to a buddy of mine like about this the other day. He goes, "Well, I think you're scared." I'm like, "Scared of what?" He goes, "I think you're scared of the success. I think you're scared that if you pick the wrong thing, it's not going to blow up and this and that." And I was like, hang on, relax. I'm not scared of anything. The reason I'm not choosing to work on this thing right now is because I don't feel the desire to. Uh, and I'm looking for an artist. So if you know anybody, I need a graphics artist to create some GIF animations of little characters looking like Bitmojis working out. So if you know someone, hit me up. But I told him, I said, listen, for the majority of my 20s, I beat my dick into the dirt, working full time, going to school full time, kicking my own ass, trying to make something of myself, which I feel like I did. I feel accomplished in that. But the thing is, I'm fucking tired. I want some time to fucking relax. I want to kick back and enjoy a night by myself, kick back and enjoy a night with my girlfriend, kick back and enjoy a night with my roommates, my friends, my family if I fucking want to. It's one of the reasons why I work 7 days a week, because I get more free time in each day. It's the little things. I can get my Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings completely to myself, or completely to myself and my girlfriend, or to go run errands, cut the grass, do yard work, whatever. And then my Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sundays, I have the afternoon and evenings, again, to myself, or to go out with the people that I just mentioned, or what have you. It's a good balance. I like it. It's nice. I can do things like record this podcast. It feels good. And again, this is just me spewing shit about what I'm doing. But maybe something I'm doing is appealing to you or relatable for your situation. I don't fucking know. But maybe it gets you thinking, hey, maybe I should do that thing that he mentioned, or that's interesting. I'm going to think more about that. I'm going to look more introspectively and figure out what I think about that, or whatever. Fuck. I'm not trying to be too philosophical. I don't give a shit. If you like it, great. If not, fuck it. I don't care. I'm just trying to say that you need a healthy amount of productivity. You need a healthy amount of creativity. And what Neil deGrasse Tyson said, again, was creativity comes when you're doing nothing, when you are bored, and something inspires you. So, a healthy amount of doing nothing creates creativity. A healthy amount of productivity creates opportunity. And then luck can bring all that together. So that's my hope, is that you can balance those things. Now, here's the other factor. I don't have children. My girlfriend is polyamorous like I am. She has a husband, so half the time she's not here. So it's a certain amount of obligation that is not there, because she has commitment to me, yes, but she has commitment to him also. So there are times where she's not here. And so I get to do my own thing, and it's a level of independence that I thoroughly enjoy. And I said to her the other day, I said, the reason I can enjoy being alone so much right now is because I have you. Because in the past, I have this issue where if I am alone, I feel alone. I feel lonely. And I can't fucking stand that feeling. It's a terrible feeling. It leads to thoughts of self-loathing and just despicable self-hate. And when I'm with somebody, those tend to go away. Is that a toxic trait? You bet your ass it is. But I manage it the best that I can. And so, again, for me, it's a good balance that I've found. And I like it. Things are going well. Like I said, I didn't disappear because things were going poorly. I disappeared because I didn't have anything to fucking talk about. Now I kind of do. But as you can probably tell from my ranting and raving here, I don't really have an end point to make here. Other than be thankful for what you have, acknowledge the opportunities in your life, but also the fact that we're in unique positions of adversity, meaning you may have a severe lack of adversity, which is an adversity in and of itself, because if you're lacking adversity, there's nothing to push you forward to feel fulfilled in life. I know I have people in my life who are like that. They have the safety net of family and friends supporting them, so they don't really have to push themselves. And they can just kind of stay in the same place, stay stagnant. And I see how depressed they get, and it's not great. I don't want to watch people be sad like that. So, one good thing about adversity is it forces you to keep moving forward. If you don't have adversity in your life, you're just going to stand still, and that is not a good feeling. I know very few people who do well with that. Very few people. There are some that like it, but the monotony oftentimes just cripples you, makes you feel like a sack of shit, and it leads you down a path of self-deprecation, depression, and the big sad, and potentially suicide or suicidal thoughts. And that's less than ideal, to say the least. So I know it's kind of ridiculous that I made a parallel with all this to Joe Rogan, but if you think about it, the dude has a great life. He's got a great family. He's got great friends. He's always having fun, and he's doing bullshit that interests him. He's just having a good time. He has a drink with his friends, smokes a cigar, smokes some weed, takes some edibles, and then he records it. Like, that's fun, man. So that's what I'm going to be doing in the future, the near future. I'm just going to be enjoying myself with some friends and recording it. And, maybe I've thought about streaming. I don't know how yet. The girlfriend will teach me because she does it. Uh, and by teach me, I mean answer a few very stupid basic questions that I have. I don't want to burden her with that because I know she's listening. But I know she's happy to help. But I know the Mass Effect collection just released its remastered set, which I'm really excited about. So I'll definitely be playing that. But otherwise, this is just I guess this is just an update episode. I really don't know what the fuck I'm going to title it. Usually I have something cheeky like, let's talk about sex, or The Dark Passenger, or whatever. You know what? This one's probably just going to be Screaming into the Void Part 2, because I didn't really have much to say. But here I am. I'm back, bitches. But again, I look forward to starting the new series on the podcast called Dude Talk, where I just sit down with somebody and talk. But hopefully that comes soon, and hopefully y'all enjoyed listening to me rant and rave about fucking nothing, because, yeah, man, not much is going on. Like I said, with the pandemic coming to an end, Trump is out of office, Biden is existing. It's just, there's nothing happening. I mean, housing market is exploding. Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is all over the place. The stock market makes no fucking sense. We're probably on the verge of an economic downturn or collapse, recession, something, I'm sure. Am I worried about it? No. Is it worth talking about? Maybe. I know there's tons of financial YouTubers who are talking about it, but maybe that's something I'll talk about with Erin, because her and I like talking about that kind of shit. Her and I are both extraordinarily frugal, so when that gets uploaded, maybe you have something to look forward to. Either way, there's stuff going on, but nothing I really feel like talking about. So if you enjoyed this episode, Godspeed, you're a fucking trooper, because I didn't really have much to say, man. Regardless, thank you for tuning in. I've been Norman. This has been DudeCastTV, and I appreciate you listening. Have a good one.
It's time to put our times behind. Get all the bad things off your mind. He's feeling good, she's feeling good, we're feeling good, yeah. Just hanging out, just having fun, we're number one. Just hanging out, just having fun. I'm a dude, he's a dude, she's a dude. We're all dudes, hey, I'm a dude, he's a dude, she's a dude. We're all dudes, hey. There's nothing better than your friends, there's no problem you can't win. Someone that's always got your back, not caring about this or that. Just hanging out, just having fun, we're number one. Just hanging out, just having fun. I'm a dude, he's a dude, she's a dude. We're all dudes, hey, I'm a dude, he's a dude, she's a dude. We're all dudes, hey, I'm a dude, he's a dude, she's a dude. We're all dudes, hey, I'm a dude, he's a dude, she's a dude. We're all dudes, hey. It's all about meeting new faces. The smiles on your face and you can't erase it. Partying on, it's going on, huh? Partying on to the break of dawn. Oh, it's time to put hard times behind. Get all the bad things off your mind. Just hanging out, just having fun. We're number one. Just hanging out, just having fun. Just hanging out, just having fun. We're number one. dude, he's a dude, she's a dude. We're all dudes, hey, I'm a dude, he's a dude, she's a dude. We're all dudes, hey. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What are we doing now? Oh.